From the outside, the mansion glowed under the warmth of the late morning sun. Its tall glass doors sparkled, the gardens bloomed in perfect symmetry, and the pool outside shimmered like a crystal mirror. But inside, within the marble halls and velvet-decorated rooms, there was a silence far heavier than gold. The silence was broken only by the soft whimpering of a little girl. Her name was Sophia. She had wide brown eyes, a pink polka-dot dress, and a smile that could melt even the hardest of hearts, yet on that day, her smile was nowhere to be seen. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she clung desperately to the arms of Maria, the maid who had been hired just months ago. Sophia was special, born with Down syndrome, and though her father loved her dearly, his constant business trips left her too often in the care of others. What he didn't know was that not everyone treated her with the tenderness she deserved. Her stepmother, Elena, was a woman polished to perfection in pearls and pressed suits, but her heart was colder than the marble floors she walked upon. To her, Sophia was nothing more than an inconvenience, a reminder of a past she wished didn't exist. Elena often raised her voice, pointing fingers at the child, blaming her for tantrums, accidents, or simple imperfections. That morning, in broad daylight, the sun streaming through the windows, Elena's anger erupted again. Her words were sharp, her voice cut like a blade, and the child's tears came faster. But before Elena's fury could deepen, Maria, the maid, did something no one had dared to do before. She stepped forward, shielding the crying girl in her arms, refusing to move. This was the very moment Alejandro, the millionaire father, walked in. He had returned early from an important meeting, his footsteps echoing through the corridor as he approached the living room. The sight that met him froze him in place, his wife, finger raised in fury, his maid, holding his daughter tightly against her chest, and his little girl, trembling, red-faced, and clinging as if her life depended on it. His world shifted in that instant. The polished image of his home cracked open, revealing a truth he had been too busy to notice. Before I continue, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in standing up for those who cannot always protect themselves, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone you care about, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Corner. Your support helps us spread stories of compassion and courage to the world. Alejandro's mind raced as he stood in the doorway. He had built his empire from nothing, fought battles in boardrooms, and learned to read people's intentions in seconds, but never had he been so blindsided in his own home. He saw Maria's trembling arms protecting Sophia, her eyes filled not with fear of losing her job but with a fierce determination to keep the child safe. He saw Elena's anger, a side of her he had overlooked too many times, excusing it as stress, as pressure, as simple misunderstandings. And he saw his daughter's face, red with tears, pressing into Maria's chest as if she knew who her true protector was. The days that followed were filled with questions Alejandro could no longer ignore. He watched quietly, without announcing his observations, and he saw the truth unfold like an unspoken confession. Elena's patience with Sophia was short-lived, her tone cutting, her affection non-existent. In contrast, Maria treated the little girl with gentle hands and an open heart. She read to her in the afternoons, taught her small songs while folding laundry, and carried her when she was too tired to walk. Alejandro noticed how Sophia's laughter, so rare in the past months, returned whenever Maria was near. Maria herself carried a secret pain. Behind her gentle smile was a history of hardship. She had grown up in poverty, working since she was a teenager to support her siblings after her parents passed away. The job at the mansion was not just employment, it was survival. But what she hadn't expected was to find a child who reminded her of her own little brother, who also had Down syndrome, and who had once been bullied and mistreated until Maria had stepped in to protect him. In Sophia, she saw the same innocence, the same vulnerability, and she had promised herself she would never let harm touch this child the way harm had touched her brother. As daylight poured into the house each morning, Alejandro found himself lingering at home longer, silently observing. The truth could no longer be hidden, his wife's coldness, Maria's courage, and his daughter's need for real love. It tore at him, because he had been so focused on wealth and status that he had forgotten to look closely at the people within his own home. Each tear from Sophia was a silent plea he had ignored. Each smile toward Maria was a truth he could no longer deny. The confrontation came on a bright afternoon, when Alejandro returned to find Elena scolding Sophia yet again for spilling juice on the table. Maria had rushed to defend the child, and Alejandro stepped forward, no longer willing to remain in the shadows. His voice, steady yet breaking with emotion, cut through the room. He demanded answers, not from Maria, but from Elena. And for the first time, he acknowledged the unthinkable. The woman he had trusted as his wife had failed his daughter in the most profound way. His wealth could buy many things, but not kindness, not love, not protection. Those had been given freely by someone who owed him nothing, his maid. In the days that followed, Alejandro made a choice that would change everything. He ensured Maria no longer worked as just the help but as Sofia's official caregiver, with respect, security, and recognition. His marriage to Elena began to crumble, the cracks too deep to repair, but he found clarity in knowing he had chosen his daughter above all. And slowly, as weeks turned into months, Sofia began to thrive again. Her laughter filled the sunlit halls, her trust in her father deepened, and her bond with Maria became unbreakable. By the end of that summer, Alejandro realized something profound. The woman who had come into his home to sweep floors and serve meals had become the very person who taught him what love truly meant. Maria's courage had forced him to see the truth, and in doing so, had saved his daughter's spirit. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support allows us to continue sharing stories that remind us of the power of kindness, courage, and love in everyday life. And before we end, we have a special request. Comment below and tell us what kindness means to you. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Because at the end of the day, it isn't wealth, power, or status that defines us, it's the way we love, protect, and stand for those who need us most. And sometimes, the truest heroes are found not in titles or fortunes, but in the quiet bravery of a heart that chooses kindness. The story you just heard is not just about a millionaire, a maid, or a little girl. It is about the extraordinary power of kindness and courage. Sometimes life shows us that the people we least expect can become the greatest protectors, the strongest voices, and the purest hearts. Maria was not wealthy, she had no power, but she had something far greater, love. And that love saved Sofia in ways money never could. It is a reminder that titles, riches, and positions mean nothing if compassion is missing. The true value of life is not in what we own, but in what we give. When we protect those who cannot protect themselves, when we stand up even if it costs us something, we become the light someone desperately needs. Alejandro discovered this truth too late, but he changed, and his daughter's laughter returned because of one woman's courage. So, let this story inspire you today. Protect, love, and choose kindness, even in the smallest ways, because you never know whose life you might change. If this story touched your heart, share it forward, and always remember, kindness is the greatest legacy we can leave behind. Red Heart.